It all comes at you fast and furious, doesn't it? It's confusing and chaotic, and all too often, it's nonsensical, weird, and completely counterintuitive. How in the world did we get here, and what's behind it all? Welcome to the What Say You podcast, where we try to make sense of it all, and we hope to do it with your help. Who are we? We're Rich Lamore and Alan Miner, two professionals who've spent a lifetime being curious and studying and observing things around us. Rich is a financial planner with a fascinating history, which I'm sure he'll divulge over time. And me, I'm Alan, a longtime software developer, also with a fascinating history. Between the two of us, we've seen and studied an awful lot, and as a result, we have a lot of knowledge of the world around us. Generally, we see pretty much eye to eye on things, but not always. And we know that you won't always agree with us. So that's why we say, what say you? Join us, and we'll fix the world together. Immigration. It's a multifaceted issue with implications for literally every facet of American life. President Trump ran on the promise of stopping illegal immigration, while the Democratic Party has embraced the notion of nearly unrestricted immigration. Meanwhile, the flood of illegal immigrants that has been pouring across the border in the past 4 years has grievously taxed the resources and the goodwill of all the border states. Furthermore, as various entities, meaning state and federal governments, have relocated the illegal immigrants, the destination cities have all experienced serious problems as a result. So, what is an immigration policy that makes sense? Who should come in? Whom should we exclude? Can we at least agree that there shouldn't be any illegal immigration? How about H-1B visas? Should they continue? Should they pause? Should we allow only merit immigration? So many questions about a massively important issue for the immediate and long-term future of our nation. We'll explore the topic a bit, and then we'd like to know, what say you? What say you, Rich?
Well, you're right from the beginning. This is complicated. And it's complicated because, like a prism, it depends, I guess, on what side you're looking through the prism. But we're trying to search for just some common sense here. And I think that's what President Trump wants to do. What's common sense? And so, to me, if you either follow the law or you don't, that's pretty basic, right? So, what's the law? So, now you could say the law is not just, whatever the law is. Well, then we need to change the law, not just simply break the law. So, and people say, well, the whole immigration process is strained, is not good, is not fair. We certainly know that. We know that many people who get in here legally have to go through so much, and families end up being separated for times before they're able to be put together. So there's a lot that needs to be changed, but being totally discarded against the law, it just doesn't seem to make common sense, you know. So I guess that's my first thought. It's not that I don't have a heart. I have a heart for those who come in legally too. I have a heart for those who stood in line and went through all the hard part and got here.
Follow the rules.
Follow the rules, you know. Um,
The rules we ask them to follow.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple. I can't go into France and just do whatever I want. I can't even go in any way I want. I can't just go into anywhere, any other country. You know, uh, I'm going to maybe go off to the side for a second here. And, I'm a very strong Catholic. I go to Mass every day. It's very important to me. But, you know, we've had bad popes before, and we have one now. I mean, what he just came out with, that it is, a disgrace to not let everybody in, to have borders. Well, the last time I looked, the Vatican wall is 10 feet thick. I'm not sure exactly how high it is, but it's pretty up there. And they just increased the penalties for breaking into the Vatican, if you will, crossing the wall illegally. Ooh, what a word, illegally. And there's fines and jail time for going into the Vatican. So I would say that a pope stop being a hypocrite, take down your wall, take in all the borders, take in all the refugees, take in everybody and anybody, and then come back and tell us. That's what I would say. But so I think we need to look at why is the Democratic Party doing this? I mean, is it because they have so much heart? Give me a break. They're politicians. I don't think politicians on either side have so much heart, So let's look at why. Why is this happening? And then we can look at, okay, what could be done? What should be done? What's the basis, the first thing that needs to be done? I certainly have opinions on that, but Alan, what do you think?
Well, I think there was one question in the introduction that we should answer, and that is, can't we all agree that there shouldn't be any illegal immigration? The answer to that ought to be bipartisan. Yes, of course. Just as we agree that there shouldn't be any other crime. This is a crime. If it's illegal immigration and you commit it, you've committed a crime. You are a criminal in our country at that point. So we ought to agree, we ought to be able to agree very simply that that should stop. If we can't agree on that, we have to conclude that the people who cannot agree on that notion are not acting in good faith. They're not acting, they're plainly not acting in the best interests of this nation, and they don't want this nation to continue to be a rule of law. I'm sorry, a nation under the rule of law. And that's, at that point, we have a serious problem. That's fundamental. But if we can agree that, yes, we should stop illegal immigration, we therefore can also agree that the notion of getting rid of the people who, in addition to being illegal immigrants, commit crimes in this country, additional crimes above and
Additional.
beyond,
Yeah.
they should go. Why can't we agree on that as well? And if today, with a magic wand, we whisk away all the illegal immigrants who have also committed a crime, and yes, I'm not talking about jaywalking, but burglary, mugging of any kind, good heavens, pickpocketing,
Murder.
all the way through the spectrum.
Yeah.
Why are they here? Get rid of them. They're not going to contribute to society. And there's a part in the introduction where I mentioned that the resources of the various cities where these illegal immigrants are winding up, as well as the border states, the resources of those entities are being drastically stretched to a point where everyone's going, help, including cities that, quote, called themselves sanctuary cities, end quote. They're going, whoa, we didn't realize the impact this would have on our ability to deliver basic services to the residents of our city.
You know that a lot of, quote, illegal immigrants actually are calling out to Trump, please get rid of the criminal illegal immigrants.
Great point. That's a great point. If you were actually to ask the immigrant community whom we can all agree, for whom we can all agree, we have some level of sympathy, actual people or people actually fleeing oppression, people actually hoping to make a better life by working really hard, paying taxes, contributing to the nation. Those people want nothing to do with the gang members, the MS-13 members, the drug traffickers, the heaven forfend the human traffickers. What a horrible notion. But anyway, there are those people, and they are part of the illegal immigrant community. And the good ones, the good illegal immigrants who have not committed crimes, can't stand those people. They want them out first, first plane flight that can take them. So that's a great point. We should be able to agree on some fundamentals.
Yeah,
easily.
I think that you're a dreamer. um, and very
But I'm
ethical.
not the only one.
And oh boy, that's a good song, huh? And
Oh, it's
here we
the
go.
worst song ever
Here we
written.
go on the puns. Okay, so um, you know, why aren't we agreeing? Why is the push on a Democratic platform and has been? Why is it the push? And I think you really go back over 100 years, um, which was then really um, written down in a book called The Naked Communist, written in 1958. The goal is to to knock America off its perch because it's in the way. It's in the way of the Marxist agenda. Um,
Rich, could you repeat the title of that book? I think that it's
yeah,
significant.
the Naked Communist, and it was written in 1958, and it outlines 45 steps on how to destroy the United States of America. And you would shudder reading these 45 because like they're almost all accomplished, you know. So what's the goal? Well, they found there were two things about the United States that caused the problem. One, very faith-based, Christian faith-based. Um, and they had to destroy the moral character of the church, in particular the Catholic Church, by infiltrating it with Marxist thinkers, etc. Mission accomplished. I mean, the moral fiber of the Catholic Church, most of the bishops are not what they should be, and the people have lost a lot of respect or trust in them. So that's one thing. You had to knock that down. It actually were three things, not two. The other thing was you have to attack the family, which is the core of any of our society, but any society, the family, and you've got to discredit it, discredit the parents. You've got to discredit the actual marriage itself to try to destroy that. You've got to discredit any type of moral norms that keeps a family together and strong. You got to, really promote pornography, all kinds of things like that. Okay, done.
Mission also accomplished.
Mission also accomplished. Okay. The third one is on an economic point is you've got to knock America down from a first world country to a second world country. You've got to knock them down. And that way they won't have the power to do what they can do and to influence. Well, what better way of doing that than an internal invasion of millions of people that we can't sustain, we can't give free stuff to everybody coming in, we're going to collapse. And you're seeing what's happening. It just doesn't work. Now, of course, a side part to this is, and people say this is the reason the Democratic Party does it, you give handouts, these people will vote Democrat and trying to always remain in power. Yeah, that's there too. I think that's very much there too, but I think it's much more the Marxist globalist aim to knock America off its perch. And that's what's happening. So, when I voted for Trump, the first time I voted for him, because I wouldn't vote for Hillary, I held my nose. After that, I've been very much behind him because it's not about him. I wouldn't let my daughter date him. But it's not, it's about his policies, his love of America, and his defense of the America that I grew up in, at least partially. And I want my children to have that. And that's freedom and opportunity. So when you allow this to happen, you're destroying that. And I think they want to destroy it. So I don't think it's by accident. So that's my reason why. But your whole thing was common sense. So my common sense is, do you lock your door, your house door? Do you lock your car doors? Does the Vatican have walls with gates that shut? Then why wouldn't our country do that? It's our home.
Yep. Yep.
Common sense. Anyway.
It's interesting. You make a great point there that it's common sense. And I was trying to make that point also about, are there not certain fundamentals on which we can all agree, assuming we have the best interests of our nation at heart? Well, obviously, we as a nation, excuse me, cannot assimilate people from abroad forever. There are 8.5 billion people on the face of the earth, and they all want to come here, minus a few hundred who don't. But everyone wants to live in America. Everyone wants to come to America, and everyone wants to live in America. We can't do that. So we all agree, purely mathematically, there is a limit to what we can assimilate. And what I think the platform that Trump ran on, everyone has summarized it as you just did. Common sense. He basically looked the American people in the eye and said, look, this is easy. You don't have to overthink this. And the American people looked back and said, yeah, I get it. And they voted overwhelmingly for him. And we've seen it. The reports are constant. The illegal immigrants arrive in a city. They go and they take over the best hotels. Then everyone says they just stay there. The opposition, the people who support unrestricted immigration will say, no, these are good people coming here to assimilate into the system and pay taxes. Except that then why don't the hotels empty out as soon as these people get on their feet? Well, they don't get back on their feet. They're happy just taking in the free stuff that the city is handing out. And of course, the residents of the city are going, what the heck? You guys have to plow our streets and pick up the garbage, and you're not doing that so that you can feed these immigrants who are living in the Ritz-Carlton over there. I understand. I'm exaggerating a tiny bit, but not much. And the stories about eating dogs and cats, some of those were stories. Some of them were not. There was a fundamental truth behind that whole thing. And that is cultures being geographically in the same area and not assimilating, not coming in and saying, I want to be an American. They're saying, I want still to be this other nationality or origin that I'm from, but in America. No.
And get your free stuff.
We should also note that that can't continue. You cannot have dramatically different cultures living side by side next to each other. You just cannot have it. So a third fundamental that we all should be able to agree on is if you come here and if you apply for permanent residence status or eventually citizenship, you should agree with no qualms whatsoever to assimilate to the United States of America. Assimilate, learn the language, learn the customs, learn the etiquette, and do it. That should also be utterly nonpartisan, in my humble
And
opinion.
it's not about giving up your heritage. I go to a Polish. I'm not Polish. My wife's part Polish, but I go to a Polish church. I mean, a big one, and these people are very Polish. You know, it's like 80% Polish, 20% English. Um, and all the customs all around there, shops and everything, very Polish. That's wonderful. But in the workforce or out among or whatever, they're still American. I mean, they followed American laws. You know, I want to slide over to something that's really at the forefront. And this one judge, I don't think he understands the Constitution. I guess he didn't read it fully, but he talks about the birthright, which I know, ending birthright. I know that's very controversial, but I don't think it should be. And they say it's unconstitutional. No, it's not. I guess you should read the 14th Amendment. It's not a simple anybody born here has the right to be a citizen. No, that's part one. Maybe you want to fill in on the other parts.
Yes, the clauses in Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, and it says if you're born here and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Those are the words exactly. Subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Well, yes, if you're here, you're subject to our jurisdiction in a legal sense, meaning if you do something wrong, you will be subject to our legal, our judiciary, our legal system, the jurisdiction of our legal system. You remain there, however, subject to the jurisdiction from which you came. So, for instance, if we were to arrest someone and from anywhere, an illegal immigrant who commits a crime, and if we were to say to that person, you know what, that crime is so grievous, we are sentencing you to life incarceration here in America, the country, the jurisdiction from which you came would protest and say, hey, that's our guy. Send him back. And we do that all the time. The name Brittany Griner should be familiar to everyone. We got ticked off when Russia said, guess what? We got upset when Russia said she is subject to our jurisdiction. And we worked a deal such that we took her back to our jurisdiction. Hence, those people are subject to the jurisdiction of the country from which they came. They're only, and I would make this case, as it makes perfect sense, they're also temporarily subject to our jurisdiction, but not subject to our jurisdiction permanently. And finally, as the amendment was being debated, the author of the amendment, and I have forgotten his name and I apologize, I could find it. Google the author of the 14th Amendment. The author of the 14th Amendment specifically excluded two categories of people: foreigners and the children of diplomats from other countries, saying that the diplomats from other countries are literally living on the soil of their nation, as the embassy is considered to be the soil of that other nation. But that other category was foreigners, and people who are here illegally are, by definition, foreigners. They're not citizens, or else they'd be here legally. They are citizens of other countries here illegally. They are, by definition, foreigners, and the author of the amendment said they should be excluded as well as their children.
So just fundamentally, if a mother or father are here illegally, then the child does not get the right to become a citizen because the entire family, the process, is here illegally.
Correct.
And you have to be subject to our laws. In other words, the legal immigration. You have to be here legally.
Yep.
And if you are here legally, a mother and a father, or a husband and a wife, whatever, and then the mother gives birth, they're here legally. Now that child is a citizen because they're subject to the laws, they're following the 14th Amendment, and now they're a citizen. But if the mother and father, either one of them, are here illegally, now they're not subject, they're not fulfilling that part of the 14th Amendment.
By definition.
They're not, yeah, by definition, they're not here legally. Therefore, the child being born here is not entitled to be a citizen because they're foreigners.
And being here illegally, it bears repeating, says overtly, I don't consider myself subject to the jurisdiction of your nation.
Please excuse this brief interruption. We'd like to encourage you to like this video. Also, please share it with your friends and neighbors who are interested in topics like this, current events and politics. Also, please subscribe to the podcast and make sure to turn on notifications so that you'll know when we put out new editions. We'd be very grateful, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
So
you're
in
not
other
following
words,
the laws.
right. In other words, illegal immigrants are stating openly that they don't believe that their child should be a citizen of the United States. I mean, they're stating it openly, but the American judiciary, this has been ruled on, the American judiciary or Supreme Court is ignoring that. Now, people will say, okay, this is stare decisis, right? This is, or decisis, I forget what the pronunciation is. This is settled law. Well, there are three words for that. Roe v. Wade. That was settled law too. And then the Supreme Court struck it down and pushed it out to the states. So this is not settled law, or doesn't need to be settled law. This is something that can be struck down and ruled, not the 14th Amendment, but the ruling stating that no matter who you are, if you're born here, you're a citizen, that can be struck down. And the author of the amendment says that
it should be.
Yep.
Yeah, you're not following the amendment.
Right. Yep. And there was another point I wanted to make, Rich. There's common sense. There's an old expression. The Constitution is not supposed to be a suicide pact. 30,000 plus Americans are slaughtered every year by fentanyl. Fentanyl that comes across the southern border. The precursors for that fentanyl are made in China. They're then processed to turn it into fentanyl and smuggled across the border by illegal aliens. They're not immigrants because they're going back. How is this not? And I don't ask to debate this. I'll throw this out as a rhetorical question. How is this not an act of war?
It's an act of
against
war.
this
That's
nation?
exactly what I
Yep.
was. It's an act of war.
Yep.
Chemical warfare, if any, right?
Yeah. 30,000. That's a staggering number. It's about as many as are killed by car accidents every year. That's unbelievable. And by the way, if it's a fentanyl overdose, it's generally younger people. How are we allowing our younger people to be killed by a foreign government? How is that possible? So that's something that I would point out, and that alone ought to justify a wall that, hey, look, yeah, some people are going to get across it, but it's going to stop others, and maybe that will save 1,000 lives each time this person stopped, and 10,000 lives each time that person stopped. It won't be perfect, but it'll be a heck of a lot better than what we have going on now.
Yeah, I mean, first thought is what should our response be, right, to this war? But really, I think the first common sense response is it's an old common sense riddle, not difficult to figure out. If you find yourself in a hole and you want to get out, what's the first thing you have to do?
Stop digging.
Stop digging. So, to stop digging means stop adding these people, stop them from coming in. The second thing is then to get rid of the illegals that are here, with the first thing of that being the criminals, the ones who are doing excess crimes, terrible crimes, killing people, your daughters, your mothers, your friends or whatever.
Laken Riley.
I know. How many Democrats voted against that? Give me a break.
Nearly all of them?
No, actually, more came in on than I expected, voted for it, but too many. I mean, who in their right mind would do that? It's kind of like Ichiro, who just got elected to the Hall of Fame. One person left him off the ballot.
Are you kidding?
He's not. So he jokingly said, "I'd like to have lunch with that one person." I mean, like, you're kidding me, right? Who would leave him?
One question: why?
Why? I don't know. So,
yeah, I completely agree, Rich. Just stop. Why would anyone disagree with? We all agree it's broken. Even the Democrats now agree it was broken. Of course, they got drubbed at the polls because they tried to pretend it wasn't broken. But so now they agree. So why can't we just stop it?
Enough.
Yep,
The word is enough.
Yep, and then figure out what to do. Yeah. I mean, if we've got 12 million here, are we going to try to assimilate them, or are we going to try to send them home? Well, like you said, common sense, get rid of the ones who do extra crime immediately, automatic. Why is this difficult?
And maybe I don't know. Maybe the ones that are peacefully here illegally, maybe there can be a way to have them become legal, giving them a time frame. Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Instead of just having them leave. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that needs to be negotiated. People smarter than me. But the criminals have got to go, and we got to stop it. Which leads into another area. I'll let you comment, but we kind of come back to visas. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to agree, and the evidence is simple. You provide proof that you have a job, that you're not on any public services. Simple.
Oh, that's right. So I remember someone, again smarter than me, said it's very simple on how this deportation would work. First of all, you got to actively, which they're doing right now, go after the criminals. Fine, they're not going to volunteer to leave, right? You got to get them out, and then you stop giving anything to someone who's not a citizen.
Right. Yeah, there's no reason that any federal welfare type program.
Okay, I'm going to back up. If you're disabled, but overall, all this stuff, you just stop giving free stuff. At least let's see how many people stay. They're going to be forced to get work, or they're going to have to leave.
Yes, there was an expression that cropped up in the last 7, 8, 9 years. A lot of people have actually used it. People will self-deport at that point.
Yeah.
If they say the gravy train is stopped, they'll self-deport. Like you tell all the people in the Ritz-Carlton in New York City, guess what? You have a week to leave. And oh, by the way, we're not providing another place. And oh, by the way, we're also not providing any more of the food and stuff that we were providing before.
It's done. Bang, done.
We might want to offer them a train ride to a warmer place, say Guantanamo. No,
Oh, that's funny. You know what? We could use the same philosophy and stop going to all the movies, and maybe the Hollywood people would leave.
I like that. I've actually implemented that. I haven't gone to a movie in
Me too.
some years. That showed them.
Yeah, right. My lack of a ticket showed them. Yeah. What about
You were going to
what
mention
about
something.
visas? What
Visas,
about
yeah.
them?
My humble opinion, that's fairly easy too. I had asked the question in the introduction, merit-based immigration? Yeah.
They
People
do it in other countries. They ask you, "What are you bringing to the table?"
Yeah.
It's like an interview.
Yeah. How is it going to be that when you've left this nation, we got $1 more than we had when you came here? And I say $1 more. They would probably, the state of mind would be that they would want to profit from your being there. And I don't use that as a dirty word at all. They would want to have their nation improved as a result of your having been there. And built into that is the notion of profit.
What are you bringing to the table?
And why can't we pose that question?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if the answer is nothing, well, then I'm sorry, you can't come in. Nothing against you. Good luck. Go get some marketable skills, and then maybe come back and resubmit an application. But you still have to apply. And oh, by the way, when you do, you get in line behind the people who are here legally. These are, how difficult is this stuff?
No.
The funny part of this, Rich, is that this has been going on, this weird notion of what a complex issue it is. And yes, there are complexities, but there are complexities if you build them in. But this has been going on for decades. And if you invent the complexities, it will get complex. But otherwise, you wouldn't invite into your house someone you think is going to trash the place. You wouldn't invite generally into your house someone you think is going to just live off you, unless they're a family member, an elderly or something. But then you're deriving a different benefit. But someone off the street, typically you would not invite him or her into your house if you're worried that that person represents a risk of degrading your family's quality of life, your quality of life.
Or safety.
Yeah, you just wouldn't. And as I said, as a result of illegal drugs brought in by illegal entries to our country, 30,000 plus, that's a low number, plus Americans die every year, murdered.
And that's not counting the rapes and the murders.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
It's just, Phoenix is not a great place to be. Let's put it that way.
Right.
And another thing, I ended up talking to people about, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. So any administration on either side is going to change the economic inflation or whatever and what they count. And I just go, I don't care what they say the inflation rate is. I don't care what they say the economy is. I don't care that they say crime has gone down. How about the eye test? How about go and buy some eggs right now? How about the eye?
$9 a dozen.
Yeah, how about reality? Just reality. There's no way crime's gone down. The reality. Maybe it's gone down. Maybe it's gone down in your suburb or wherever, but it's definitely not gone down in like all those cities you mentioned. Let's talk about San Francisco. How's it gone down there? What about LA? How's it done there? New York City, how's it done there? See, what did these all have in common that I just mentioned? What about Chicago? What has it done there? Up like crazy. People, common sense is really not believing what you want to believe and opening your eyes and your ears to just look and listen. I mean, it's right there in front of you. Inflation's only 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7%. Really, buy eggs.
Yeah. $9 a dozen.
Unbelievable. Buy milk.
Any of the staples through the
Yeah.
roof. Yep.
Yeah. Electricity. Oh yeah, that's only going up 3-4%. Come on.
3 or 4%. 3 or 4% for the last 4 years. That's a chunk.
Yeah, but it's more than that.
Oh yeah.
It's more. So again, what's their purpose? And this is all part of it. So when I look at visas, I'm like, stop digging. I'm like, visas should be harder to get right now, and some of them just completely ended.
Yeah, and I note that one of the most productive people in the world, Elon Musk, is a
HB1 visa
he's
person.
an HB1 visa and a gigantic supporter of HB1 visas. I would say if I were
That's merit based though.
exactly, and I would say I'm sorry H1B.
H1.
I would say to Donald Trump, let Elon take the lead on this because he really knows how to staff a company, and therefore how an H1B visa might serve to facilitate that purpose. So take a look at what he proposes. Is he saying, let's continue it under the following parameters? I would say look at those parameters seriously. He's a very bright dude, Mr. Musk is. And then, I mean, even the final decision might be Donald Trump's or Congress's ultimately. Heaven forbid they actually do their job. But there's a guy who can contribute materially and positively to setting in place a really good approach for dealing with H-1B visas and any other visas and the notion of merit-based immigration.
You know, you just triggered something for me on how
Trigger warning.
the people, trigger warning, how people who, like the judge who put a temporary stay on the birthright thing and all this, they're really doing us a favor. And I'll tell you why, in my opinion. You know, an executive order is nice and it'll get things done until the next president comes along who's on the other side and wipes them all away. But if these executive orders can be codified, whatever, put into law, now not so easy to get rid of. We're still trying to get rid of Obamacare, but it was codified into law. It's like, good luck. That's not going to happen. So by bringing up these cases and these lawsuits, guess where it's got to end up? The Supreme Court.
Yep.
And it's like, thank you. Now, I'm saying thank you in that we may not always get the answer we want, but you would think that common sense and following what the Constitution says, 14th Amendment, that bang, now this is going to be law, not just an executive order. Right. So thank you. Thank you for bringing it to the table.
Yep, good point. And I mean, to some extent, Rich, the people who, how would I say this? I don't want to say commit egregious behavior, but who do really silly things can do you a favor in providing an example for how not to be. Yeah, we see.
You mean like Biden in the last 4 years?
Yeah, there you go.
So even though, you know, we may believe that the election in 2020 was less than honest, and there are certainly some discrepancies, it is such a blessing in hindsight. God knows what God's doing, I believe. And we always go to, what's going on? Anyway, just wait, just wait, So it really was a blessing in disguise he didn't win, because we had 4 years of hell and more people had their eyes opened. And also Trump had time to really learn and not just trust people, oh, this person would be good. No, he's going to pick his people. I just think it was a blessing in disguise that the evil came out, brought his head up above ground and to be seen. And now we can do something about it.
And people recognized it. And
Yeah.
a big component of that was, just as you said, go to the store and pick up a dozen eggs and a gallon of milk. And all of a sudden you're walking out having spent $20 for a dozen eggs and a gallon of milk, whereas before you would not have spent $5. Okay, you would have spent $5, but 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So yeah, very good points.
So, you know, all the more I go, I trust in God,
Yeah.
even though I don't see it so many times. Like,
Well,
what are you going to do about this?
Yeah, I think I said to you, and I understand this is a digression, and we can edit it out in post production if we want. Every prayer I've ever prayed for myself has always been answered, every single time. Rarely as I envisioned it being answered, and almost never right then and there, but always and better than what I envisioned. It's
I don't think that
interesting.
needs to be edited out. Anyway, you know, it's where we come from.
Yes.
You know, so I think we should wind down.
Yep.
You know, it's again, we're sit back and watch the show, have a little popcorn.
Yeah, and remember our basic premise. We understand not everyone is going to agree with us, so we would love to hear what you have to say. This is initially it's a YouTube podcast, but it's going to go on other platforms as well. On YouTube, you can certainly enter into the comments. You know how everyone's always say, "Hey, write your questions in the comments below." Well, go ahead, and if you give us a way to well, I'm sorry, if you actually put your comment in the YouTube comments section, we can respond to it, and we will. If you flood us with comments, we won't be able to respond to all of them, needless to say, but we're just starting out.
I do want to clarify that if I'm really speaking from my heart and I'm speaking to a large crowd and I kind of speak from my heart and I'm waving to the crowd, I am not doing Heil Hitler. For me, I don't know about other people, but this is from my heart to all of you out there. You know, so just want to say.
I did not see that.
Yeah, you know, so people see what they want to see on both sides. People.
Yeah. Yes. So anyway,
Just go buy eggs. Just go buy eggs.
Our basic premises are 2: go buy eggs and a gallon of milk, and then go ahead and unload on us. Tell us what you think. Certainly, we love the people who agree, and we love to hear from you. You know, that's always a plus. But we also really want to hear from the people who disagree, and yes, we will respond, and we will keep it polite. Please.
We love them too, even if we don't agree with them.
Absolutely. We will keep it polite, and please, you guys, keep it polite. You'll notice at the end of the intro, I said a fairly tantalizing little tidbit. I said. The intro said, come on over, tell us what you think and what you have to say, and we'll fix the world together.
It's the only way.
Yep. If everyone
and trusting in God.
And trust in God.
Yeah.
If not everyone is along for the ride, it'll never be an easy ride. It'll always be a bumpy ride. But if we all try and if we all if we're all working in good faith, we'll get there. I'll shut up now. I said too much, as I always do.
Good. I think I'm going to keep my name for even when I'm dealing with my clients. See what they say. All right. Listen, take care. I'm signing off and ending the recording.
God bless all of you.
God bless.
What say you?